Hi, I'm Kelly Geller. Today we're going to be making Coeur à la crème, literally French hearts of cream. They're beautiful little desserts, almost like a French cheesecake, and we're going to be serving them today with two different fruit sauces, a strawberry sauce and a passion fruit sauce. Let's get started on the sauces. I've already pureed here in the blender strawberries along with a little bit of lemon juice and a little bit of sugar just to balance out their flavor. We're actually going to bring this to a simmer on the stove. And what that's going to do is give you a little bit longer to use the sauce. Fresh strawberry sauces tend to start to ferment, get a little fizzy in the fridge after a day or two. This is going to give you a couple more days to use it. And we're going to just simmer it for a few minutes, and then we're going to put it in the fridge to chill. So our strawberry sauce is just about done here. We've been simmering it gently on the stove for a few minutes, and we're just going to take that off, and we're going to put that in the fridge to cool. So now we're going to move on to our passion fruit sauce. I'm going to start with passion fruit juice. And passion fruit juice you can get in the international section of a grocery store. They're going to vary in sweetness, so you always want to taste it. If it's a little more on the tart side, which passion fruit can be, you might want to add an additional tablespoon of honey. If it has sugar added already, you might not need the honey at all, so just give it a taste before you use it. We're going to reserve 2 tablespoons. We're going to take it out and mix it with a little bit of cornstarch. What we're aiming to do here is thicken the passion fruit juice so it has the same consistency as our strawberry sauce. So when we plate our dessert, the sauces don't run into each other and make a big old mess. All right, passion fruit juice in. And when we're thickening with cornstarch, we want to bring our liquid to a boil first. So we're going to get our passion fruit juice going, bring that up to a boil. And in the meantime, we're just going to mix our cornstarch and our passion fruit juice together, and this makes what's called a slurry. It's just a little thickening agent. We're also going to add a little bit of honey. This juice that I'm using is a little bit tart, so I'm going to add just about a tablespoon right into the juice and whisk that in. And we'll bring that to a boil. All right, so our passion fruit juice has come to a boil, and we're going to take and whisk in our slurry. The reason we make the slurry to begin with is if you tried to add cornstarch in its powdered form right into this hot liquid, you just end up with clumps. That's why we dissolve it in a little bit of liquid. So we just want to make sure it's whisked together, and then we just whisk it in a steady stream, and you can really start to see the thickening action. The juice changes texture, becomes clear and thickened. It's really beautiful. And we just want to simmer this for maybe about 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, so now we're going to put our passion fruit sauce in the fridge to chill, and it's ready when we plate our dessert. We're going to continue making our Coeur à la crème, and we're going to move on to the actual dessert part itself. And this is like a fresh cheesecake, I guess you could compare it to. So there are traditional molds that go along with the Coeur à la crème, and sometimes this dessert is made with a fromage blanc, a fresh cheese. So the reason the molds are perforated and we line it with cheesecloth is so that any of the whey can drain off as it sets in the refrigerator. When you're making it with a cream cheese or a mascarpone, we're really just using the molds more for tradition. So if you don't have them, that's okay. You can use a little ramekin and line it with cheesecloth to help it unmold. We're going to take a little damp cheesecloth, and we're just going to press it down into our heart-shaped molds, and that gives us enough to fold over the custard when we're done, and so we can easily unmold it when it's time. And same thing here. So just our wet cheesecloth. These are about 10 by 10 inch squares, give or take, in a single layer. And you just want to get them into the molds like that so our molds are ready. So we'll put these off to the side, and we're going to start with a whipped cream. So we're going to add a little bit of cream and powdered sugar, and we're going to whip this to soft peaks. What this is going to do is give our dessert a mousse-like texture. We're going to end up folding the mascarpone and cream cheese mixture into the heavy cream, so it's like a mousse. Okay, so we've got our whipped cream made here, and I'm going to show you what a soft peak looks like. So we don't want it to stand up, we just kind of want it to kind of drip off just a little bit. Okay, so it's not real stiff whipped cream. This is going to really easily incorporate to the cream cheese mixture. So we're going to reserve the whipped cream. And you can just have a small bowl ready. We're going to go right back into the same mixture. You don't need to worry about rinsing it out or anything. Fewer dishes is always good. So we're going to start with our mascarpone and our cream cheese. And I mentioned that some recipes will use cream cheese and ricotta cheese. Some recipes will use cream cheese and creme fraiche. Different combinations of dairy that have different flavors and different textures. I prefer the richness of cream cheese, but sometimes I find if you use all cream cheese for the recipe, it's too heavy. Mascarpone is a lightly textured Italian cream cheese, and it makes a perfect combination with the heavier American cream cheese to just lighten it up a little bit. So we're going to put both of these in the mixture. It's very important that they're at room temperature. If they're cold, it's going to be really hard to incorporate them. And you're going to have lumps in the mixture. So we're going to get those combined first. Whip them together until they're nice and smooth, light and fluffy, and you don't see any lumps of cream cheese left. Okay. You can scrape down the bowl as needed, just making sure you get anything that's coming up the sides. Now we're going to add our flavoring into the mix, as well as a little heavy cream, just to loosen up the cream cheese mixture, which will help it meet the whipped cream mixture when it's time. So we're going to add a little bit. Slow speed here. You don't want it sloshing around. There we go. Okay, and we're going to whip that until it's incorporated. And again, same idea until no lumps remain. Okay. We're going to scrape down again because uniformity is really key with this dessert. And we'll flavor. So we're going to do some lemon juice, just for a little brightness, acidity. If you want here, again, this is a basic recipe, so this is where you can get a little creative if you want to. You could add a liqueur, like a black currant liqueur. You could add a Grand Marnier if you like an orange flavor. Anything along those lines. And then we're going to add a little bit of vanilla. A little bit of salt. And I like salt in desserts, not to necessarily make it salty, but just to enhance and round out all the flavors. A quick whip to mix that in. I'm actually going to start with a large, clean spatula to make the folding easier. Give your bowl one final scrape down. And when you're folding, you typically want to do your folding in 3 additions. You first want to add the lighter textured mixture, about a third of that, into the heavier mixture, just to kind of help them start to mix together. And we don't want to lose the volume that we've created with the whipped cream, so we're going to start in the center, and we're going to fold over the top. Again, cut with your spatula down the center of the mass and fold over the top. And that's just what you're going to do. Repeat until that first addition is almost fully incorporated. When it's almost fully incorporated, you're going to move on to your second addition. All right, and then same with the third addition. So our last addition of whipped cream, folding just until incorporated. Now we're going to put the mixture into our prepared molds. So we've got our lined Coeur a la Creme molds here. And you just take a spoon and fill up each mold. We're going to fill up the molds, making sure we're getting all the corners. This recipe will actually serve 8. It'll make 8 of these little 3.5-inch molds. And once you've got it up to the top, you can just kind of press with your spoon, make sure it gets down into the corners of the heart. And then we're just going to fold the cheesecloth over, which is going to help us unmold later. And we're going to give each mold a light tap and just kind of press gently on the top to make sure you evenly distribute the mixture into the heart-shaped mold. So these are going to go into the refrigerator for at least 4 hours, but they can also sit in the fridge overnight, which makes them a great make-ahead dessert. And then we'll plate them up with their sauces. So we're ready to plate our Coeur à la crème, and I think you'll be amazed at how beautiful these are. So elegant. So these have been chilling overnight in the fridge. And all we're going to do to unmold is unfold our cheesecloth. We're going to turn them out onto a small plate. Not the plate we'll be serving on, but one to just help us unmold. So turn it upside down. I'm going to take the mold off first. And then I'm gently going to peel away the cheesecloth. And look at that. Look at that beautiful heart-shaped dessert. All right. So now we're going to use our passion fruit sauce and our strawberry sauce to plate. And I also like to use a macadamia nut crumble, almost like a crust that you'd find on a regular cheesecake. So we're going to start with our sauces. And we're going to spoon the sauce a little bit of the passion fruit on one side. So we get both fruit flavors here. And a little bit of the strawberry on the other. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of get them together. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our crumble to the center of the plate. So we're almost making a loose crust. I'll put it right on here, and we're just going to make a little circle. You can pat that down with a spoon as you go. So with each bite of the Coeur à la crème you take, you get a little bit of strawberry, a little bit of passion fruit, and a little bit of the crunch from the crust. Okay. And then we're going to finish. We're just going to move the Coeur à la crème very gently. Okay, right to the center of the plate. And then you can garnish with just about anything you want here. I usually choose something that is already on the plate. So if you wanted to have some macadamia nuts and add them, you could. You can add some sliced strawberries, some passion fruit seeds, or some edible flowers, which I also love to add for a little bit of elegance. So maybe this one we'll do, let's turn it around here. We'll do a little heart in the center of the heart. And we can do a couple flowers there as well. I always like to have threes, odd numbers, visually. There we go. So your beautiful Coeur à la crème.